Tonight on Joy News Prime, a landlord who allegedly shot and killed his tenant for refusing to move out after the expiration of his tenancy insists he did it in self-defense.
Did it in self-defense? Yes, brother.
We'll be getting the latest from the police. Lone surviving Ghanaian soldier from World War II ends week-long walk to raise over 100,000 Ghana cedis for frontline health workers involved in Ghana's COVID-19 fight.
We went to Burma to fight a physical war. There you see the enemy. Now we are faced with another war, a visible war.
Also in this bulletin, leadership of Zongo communities unimpressed with work done by the Inner City and Zongo Development Ministry.
I am not impressed with what the Zongo minister is doing, because I can see that the Zongo ministry is only in Accra. I said it and I'm saying it right away.
But the sector minister says the slums cannot be transformed overnight.
It is not at all a supposition or an assumption that in an election cycle, all the problems of inner cities and Zongo communities are going to be resolved.
And in business,
rice farmers in Ashanti region appeal for milling machine to aid production.
Now man to man buru wiye nenne ya hit be kano hit kam no na obura na de koso a be ha na be aburo ni nkatie.
And later in the bulletin, a failed assemblyman aspirant who became famous for his name is contesting the use of that same name by budding musician comedian over who is the real GOAT. Not the acronym greatest of all time, but GOAT, as in GOAT. Yeah, meh.
He mentioned my name to make trending. He say he call real GOAT. Hey, you call real GOAT? I want you to hear that name I have registered before.
I'm Israel Lion and I'm anchoring Joy News Prime live on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air.
And my name is Aisha Prime in the Joy News studio from Kokomlimle on digital address G80992539. Also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144.
In our first story, a landlord said to have shot and killed his tenant at Ofanko here in Accra has justified his action, saying it was in self-defense. Victor Steve Nana Kankam shot his tenant Benjamin Autry because he says he refused to move out of his two-bedroom apartment when his tenancy expired. The landlord says this is despite written notice to the tenant demanding that he moves out the very day the lease expired. According to eyewitnesses, the landlord stormed the house on Sunday afternoon wearing a bulletproof vest and wielding 2 guns. He is said to have shot the tenant 4 times.
Opposite 4 times. Into 4 times. You said, yeah, knockout.
We were in the house when we heard 4 gunshots. We thought it was our Muslim brothers celebrating Eid al-Fitr with firecrackers. So we decided to come out and have a look, only to see the gentleman in a pool of blood. The landlord had once threatened him to move out of the house. Yesterday was his last day. The gentleman had already gotten a place at Alaji, where he has moved most of his things. The landlord usually goes to knock on the door, but this time he called him on his phone. The gentleman came to open the gate and was shot by the landlord in the process. It appears the landlord was prepared because he came wearing a bulletproof and had a gun on him as well, accompanied by his lawyer. Friends of the gentleman were angry, hence they burnt down the house. If it wasn't for the fire service, nothing would have been left in this place.
Inside the fire service for quite background.
I say 12:50 more area. Me Juma o enchen here. Enti me sister Osman and Mambuze wo mboto ade. Enti me tie etu ato first one. Tie chi na me tie say etu na sen ato.
I heard a gunshot. Then it was followed by 3 more gunshots. I met my niece and nephew who ran to me saying someone had fired a gun. When I got closer to the scene, I saw a taxi leaving and the landlord holding a gun. He passed by and started running with a gun in his hand. So I decided to come out of the house only to see the tenant in a pool of blood. I helped his friend put him in a vehicle. The tenant was shot in the chest, thigh and knee. He shot the gates before shooting the gentleman.
The deceased tenant's family is demanding justice.
A friend Benjamin Notre. Menene kasa fiada. Mimi wo kumase na me friend. Se me ba me akoya de e benada. Eno was sister baby ametinu me tu. Enti wo ba no afre me. Enti eno na me yes me sin afre ni. Enti me fa afo na me papa so frɛ me.
I live in Kumasi. I spoke to my brother on Friday and he told me that he's moving out of where he lives, so I should let him know when I'm coming to his end. My father called me saying the landlord said the day my brother's rent expires is the day he moves out of the house. My brother was in the room folding his things when he heard a knock on the door. He called his servant to check who it was, only to see the landlord. He offered the landlord a seat, and that was what instigated the gunshot. I would have gladly paid the landlord if my brother owed him, but he just killed my brother. My brother has no problem with the landlord. His rent has expired. The man asked him if he wanted to stay, and he said yes, but he later changed his mind. He told me he had a dream, and in that dream, the landlord was pointing a gun at him. The next morning, the landlord came with a letter and told him that once his time is up, he will have to move that same day, or else he would shoot him. When he went to the house yesterday, my brother was packing and he just shot him. The issue is now in the hands of the law. We just want justice served. The landlord's mother brought a lawyer to help set his son free.
My son told me that he has spoken with the landlord. So once his rent is up, he'll move out. He came to tell me that he had a dream, and in the dream his landlord held him at gunpoint and they struggled over it and he took the gun. I then told him to move out of the house because it's not a good place.
The landlord, Victor Stephen Anakankam, however, insists he did no wrong.
Full name is Victor Stephen Anakankam Nikonim Anukba III Obu Schroeder. As I said, I wouldn't like to have no comment unless legal representation, but as I'm here, I acted in self-defense. Yes, madam.
The Accra Region Police PRA DSP Fiatenge joins us for more. Good evening to you. Now, what has the police been able to gather so far about this incident?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening. That was yesterday. The report was received by the Mount Southern Police yesterday afternoon, and it had to do with a report of a landlord who had allegedly shot a tenant. The police was informed that the deceased was renting an apartment that belongs to the landlord, and that the 2-year rent actually expired yesterday. So he was supposed to leave the house, and whilst he was in preparation to leave, the landlord came there, and without any provocation, the landlord shot the deceased. For now, the police is yet to establish the reason for which the landlord committed this heinous crime. But the good news is that the suspect we now know as the victim Kankam, that the victim Kankam, is in the custody of the police, and he is assisting police in further investigation.
So the reports as you have it, who is narrating it? Is it the landlord who is giving you that account, or you're getting it from eyewitnesses?
Yes, these are pieces of information that the complainant who walked into the police quarters had to say to the police. But apart from that, too, the police have been able to gather some account of what actually happened. And we believe that in the course of our investigation, together with that of the account of the suspect, whatever reason that led to the shooting and killing of the deceased will definitely come to bear.
But has the suspect told you anything, told the police anything?
Yes, from what the suspect tells us, that is what is now before the police now. And as I indicated, this is a very heinous crime. And for anybody to have shot somebody, from what we know now, that is without any form of provocation, would mean that the police still need to do a lot of work to find out what really occasioned this crime. So whatever he has told us is within the bosom of the police, and we will continue to do our bit to do our further investigations and find out what really led to that. But whatever it is, we don't believe that somebody should be killed in the manner in which the deceased was murdered. So for now, the police hold him for the charge of a murder, and we will continue to do our investigation. And if there are any other crimes that come in the course of investigation in terms of charges, all these will be brought before the law court and made the suspect face those charges in court.
All right, thank you very much. You heard DSP Fiating Accra Region Police PRO. Thank you for making time to speak with us. Now, moving on, the lone surviving Ghanaian soldier from World War II has ended a week-long walk to raise money for doctors and nurses at the front line of Ghana's COVID-19 fight. Private Ashite Hammond, now 95 years, took inspiration from 100-year-old Captain Tom Moore, another World War II veteran who recently worked to raise millions of pounds for the UK's National Health Scheme, NHS. Joy News' Justice Bedu followed him all week and reports the Ghanaian veteran raised £16,000.
My name is Joseph Ashite Hammond. I was born 10th May 1925. During my school days, whenever I saw soldiers, I was always inspired.
Mr. Hammond is the last man standing, the last Ghanaian with first-hand account of how the Second World War happened.
It was a terrible thing. During the war, there was one time when the Japanese actually came in hundreds. Once you are hearing it means human beings falling.
Now, 75 years after the war, he set his eyes on another battle, coronavirus, working to raise funds to support the men and women at the forefront of Ghana's response against the global pandemic.
We went to Burma to fight a physical war. There you see the enemy. Now we are faced with another war, a visible war. The enemy, you won't see the enemy, but the enemy will attack you. So this is why I've decided, you see, to raise plenty of money, the funds, to enable us to help the frontline workers.
Over a week, Private Hammond has been joined on his adventure by British envoy Ian Walker, hip life legend Ochiame Kwame, and movie star Jocelyn Dumas, who, like him, want to stand up and be counted amidst the outbreak of a virus that has so far killed 345,000 people.
He walked 2 miles. I reckon he could have walked 20 more. Quite an incredible man.
The military cemetery sits quietly only a few meters from the Oxford Street where Private Hammond has been walking all week. And it is here, in between the lush greens and the eerie quietness, that Ghana's fallen soldiers lie. Some stood in battle with him.
Only one of them, Joseph Pakomina. He is the one.
Who was he?
He was in the army, but he died also.
They lay side by side, comforted, it seems, by the chirping birds.
We have left some of our best friends there. It's not our choice. Whether you like it or not, it has happened. So, well, you have to accept it. This is the way God has planned it. Everybody one day will end up here, whether you like it or not. Yesterday, I was like them, but today they have ended up here. So this is life.
This is the finishing line for his walk. But the essence of his gesture, like the war in which he fought and survived, would linger forever. Justice Beidou, Joy News, Accra.
Private Hammond, well done, you just completed 40 miles.
Private Secretary Hammond joins me live on Zoom for more on this worthy cause. Congratulations on this feat. Now, not many of us can do this, so I echo to you. You have been walking for a week. Where's all that strength coming from, and how are you feeling at the moment?
Well, I decided to walk, to raise funds for the frontline workers, doctors, nurses, and everybody involved. Now we have been able to raise 16,000 pounds. So I'm appealing fervently to our president, our vice president, and all the ministers to contribute massively to enable us to help the frontline workers and the vulnerable veterans. They are feeble, old men, some are 70, 98, I'm 95, some are 96. So I expect across the whole continent of Africa, I'm appealing to all our presidents across our continent in Africa and the former presidents across the continent to contribute so that the whole thing will be very successful at the end of the day. I believe fervently that they will never let us down. I trust them. And because of our faith in them, I'm sure that they will be able to raise 500,000 pounds to enable us to buy equipment and other things for the frontline workers. I'm very, very happy to be here tonight to appeal to our president, our vice president, all our presidents, to put their shoulders together in Ghana and everywhere to do it for us. I trust you. I believe in you. I have confidence in you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. May the Lord bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Private Secretary. But I also want to find out, how can we all support? You've talked about the government, the vice president and all. How can we also support you?
Well, what I would like to say is this: little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. So the little that you can contribute at the end of the day will be a colossal amount. So I'm appealing to everybody. Never mind, if even one city, it is good. There's a link.
How can we get our little drops over to you?
There's a link on my page. So I'm asking everybody to do this for me. I'm asking everybody. I'll be very happy. I rely on you. I cannot do it alone, but with your help, we will succeed. I believe fervently. With your help, I can't do it alone.
Thank you very much, Private Ashite Hammond, and God bless you too.
And Private Ashite has already won my heart with some amount to be donated. I'm going to click to that link and also support my token to help the frontline workers. Now, 2 months after schools were shut down as part of measures to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus, e-learning has become the order of the day. But in rural areas with very few smart devices and virtually no internet access, largely because of cost, the concept of e-learning remains a fantasy for schoolgoers there. Well, Joy News' Kenneth Awotredako visited the community of Kambuli in the Elembele district of the Western region, where pupils congregate around battery-powered radio sets to listen in as teachers broadcast lessons on local radio stations as COVID-19 restrictions keep their classrooms shut. Interestingly, though, it's been fruitful and the students don't feel left behind. There's more in the following report.
Far off in the western region is Kanbunli, located in the heart of the Nlembele district, which has a population of 87,501 according to the 2010 population housing census. The community has just about 57.7% of its population engaged in skilled agriculture, forestry and fishery work. Only 31% of the population above 12 years use internet facilities, with just about 581 households having computers.
You apply force. Are you here? Good. So the force you apply to overcome a load, it's called effort.
10-year-old Lina to Isa has some 30 minutes to midday prayers in the predominantly Muslim community amid the Ramadan fast. The primary 5 pupil with her pen and books tunes into the community radio where teachers broadcast lessons to students in the area. These lessons are tailored for junior high school students, but Lina to is brilliant enough to comprehend the lessons.
A machine is any device that makes work more easy and faster. Type of machines are simple machine and complex machine.
She's brimming of ambitions and will not let a ban on opening of schools get in her way.
I want to be a doctor in future.
A machine is a device by which a small...
Back in the studio, lessons continue unabated, but Lina too is not the only child in the locality taking advantage of the lessons. Her colleagues clutch and sit close to battery-powered radio sets to make up for the lost contact hours their urban compatriots are getting online. Martin De Porres, who was pushed into the program by his grandmother, recounts his initial reaction to the shutdown of schools.
It was like the world has come to an end, because when you go home and you don't do anything, then you're not going to study. You're not going to study at all. You're going to roam about, work with friends and other things. That's sort of revision for me, because I'm in Form 3 and what they are teaching starts from Form 1. So I'm recapping whatever is going on.
It has been actually entertaining and very educative too. It has helped me very much. It has educated me on my do's and don'ts at the BEC hall, and also some topics we have not treated in class, and others that we've treated in class. I've polished it and I have had a better understanding, and I'm able to ask questions even when I'm not here in the house and I'm listening. I can still ask questions, call and ask questions, so it has helped me a lot.
The STEM Radio School is a corporate social responsibility by Talo Ghana Limited, geared towards mitigating the plight of students in their catchment areas. Fifi Angel is the social performance manager of Talo Ghana Limited.
We never anticipated that this would reach such an extent. We've had massive support from the education sector, from the various education directors, from the teachers, from parents, even from opinion leaders. We've had calls even to extend it across the whole of the country.
Director of Education in Elembele District, Peter Ejable Akakweisen, calls for support to extend it beyond the current scope.
The subjects are limited to only 3 out of the 4 core subjects. It's English, mathematics, science. But we still have social studies that is not covered. And we still have other subject areas that are not covered. So that is for BC. So if we could even extend it to cover all the core subjects, it would be grateful.
And still on education, and this time brainstorming on how to reopen schools as countries across the world begin easing restrictions imposed as a result of COVID-19. Government is consulting with stakeholders on the best way to reopen schools. Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma announced that an eventual reopening is inevitable, though the exact timing is unclear. But what is the best way to ensure that schools are reopened in a way that ensures the safety of both students, teachers, and other staff? Joy Prime TV's morning show, Prime Morning, is organizing a policy forum to explore the subject, and co-host Daniel Dazi joins me to discuss this further. Daniel, this is a very good concept. I mean, but why this forum?
We just visited Kimberley, Aisha, in the Western region, where children are finding innovative ways together with corporate Ghana to maintain education even in these times of restrictions being imposed. We know that the COVID-19 virus may not go anywhere immediately, and so we'll need to find a way to live with it. That's the conversation government has been pushing. And so we want to provide solutions. We want to get the best and brightest, most seasoned minds around a table, of course a virtual table, and have a conversation around how we can have a safe education, creating a safe environment for education.
Definitely, this conversation is very critical, very important, and I can see who are the people who will be speaking on this forum.
Former Rector of GIMPA, Professor Stephen Adair, Aisha. Former Education Minister, Professor Jaina Nopokwa-Jema, is also on the bill. Patrick Ewa, founder and president of Ashesi University. Anis Hafar, who is an educationist and founder and leader of the Gates Foundation. We also have the Deputy Health Minister, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, and also Nana Kofi Kwache, who is a global public health specialist. He is a lecturer and adjunct professor at the New York University, NYU.
I mean, great minds coming together on one table. I mean, the expectations are high. What should we expect, Daniel?
Well, expect to leave with a clear picture of what every stakeholder must do. Aisha, basically, if you're a parent, if you're a student, if you're a school administrator, if you are in government, expect to leave with a clear sense of what we must do to keep kids safe in school. And of course, it's a virtual policy forum. That means that all the guests will join us, and a majority of them will join us digitally, and we'll have a digital audience as well.
Okay, so I will want to join, and I'm sure a lot of more people want to also join this conversation. How do we join? Quickly.
There's a WhatsApp number on the screen, 0202-516-515.
Great.
02, just WhatsApp the number. And we'll add you. Just say hi to the number. We'll add you to the Zoom audience tomorrow.
Watch out for me, Daniel, because I'm going to join in that conversation.
Right,
very important conversation. Thank you so much, Daniel Daz. And you want to catch that up on Prime Morning on Joy Prime 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now, still to come in this bulletin, a field assemblyman aspirant who became famous for his name is contesting the use of that same name by budding musician comedian over who is the real GOAT. Not the acronym greatest of all time, but GOAT, as in goat. Yeah, meh.
He mentioned my name to make trending. He say he call real goats. Hey, you call real goats? I want you to hear that name I have registered before.
There is more when we return from this break. Time now for business. Sandra Preno has the very latest from the business world. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, I want a Muslim name. Hajia
Khadija.
Hajia Khadija. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
You're looking good.
Take it away.
All right, celebrating 25 years of joy. My name is Sandra Sinamap, and I'm here for business. Rice farmers in the Ashanti region are citing harvesting and threshing as the biggest challenges to their work. They want government to pay critical attention by supporting them to overcome the age-old impediments for improved production. Nana Yaojima visited rice farmers in Ejisu municipality and has come through with this report.
Amid increasing demand for local rice, farmers are unable to expand to meet domestic needs. This is against the background of $1 billion annual import bill on the staple. The Food and Agriculture Ministry, through the Planting for Food and Jobs program, targets to make Ghana self-sufficient rice producer. I'm at one of the rice-producing communities of the Ejisu municipality. Against the surface of a partly broken wooden table, dried rice stalk is struck and seeds drop onto a tarpaulin. The manual threshing method, farmers say, is the most difficult process in rice cultivation. It is Edward's turn today in the Nobwa system, where farmers come together to help each other in turns to process their produce. For about 21 days, Baba has been harvesting a 2-acre rice farm all alone. He finds the task too tedious for one person, but he has no option because he cannot afford to hire laborers to assist him. The risk, he says, is potential loss of produce if harvest and threshing delay. At least 3,218 farmers cultivate 681 hectares of rice farms in the Ejisu municipality. Under the Planting for Food and Jobs, government has made available high-yielding varieties to farmers. From an average of 2.5 tons of yield per hectare, farmers now target 4 tons. Government-farmer collaboration to introduce threshers and harvesters to farmers could be the game changer. To achieve this, the ministry is introducing farmers to rice farming machinery. Sector Deputy Minister George Odro sheds some light on the initiative.
We have about 1,000 pieces we are going to distribute across the country through all the southern sector of the rice valley to enable the farmers harvest their rice and use the machine to do the threshing. If we are able to continue as we are doing, possibly by the 2 years that we want to stop the importation of rice into this country will be realized.
From Kumasi for Joy News, Nana Yaojima reporting.
And still on the agri sector, watermelon farmers along the Accra-Aflao Highway within the Greater Accra region have expressed discontent with poor sales. Some who spoke to Joy Business blamed the low sales on COVID-19 pandemic and disproportionate rainfall patterns. Fred Duho visited CEDI and Adan and has come through with the following report.
Tomato and other perishable goods, watermelon is one of the fruit that floods the markets in season. On the Accra-Aflao Highway, specifically around CEDI and Adan in the Greater Accra region, watermelon cultivation is one of their main occupations. Seasonally, women, men and children alike are seen drawing attention of passengers to their heap of watermelon along the road. According to them, the price of watermelon has drastically reduced this year.
It's like there's some disease on the land. That's why some of the watermelon gets rots. Some get overgrown. That's why it's like we didn't get too much rain. 5 cities lay, 3 cities lay, 4 cities, 2 cities, 1 cities.
Look at that.
Because of lockdown, this year.
This size of watermelon, previously sold for 5 Ghana cedis, is now selling for 1 cedi. while the biggest size now goes for 10 Ghana cedis instead of 20 cedis last year. Despite the short distance from the capital city Accra to the supplying communities, middlemen are said to be cashing in, as the 10 cedi size of watermelon is sold for 20 cedis in Accra. Aside from the poor rainfall pattern hampering good harvest, some farmers blame the low crop yield on the lack of irrigation system.
So it's not good because of the rain, how the rainfall isn't good at all.
And what will you say, apart from the rain, has been the rain is the only challenge you can talk about?
Yes.
So in that case, you need something like irrigation to be able to...
If we get it, we can do it.
Despite these shortcomings, the little harvest for the season is equally going waste. And instead of allowing tons of the fruit to go bad, pigs are having a field day at the expense of a bad market. I am Fred Duho reporting for Joy Business.
And that will be all for business for now. I'm back after 8 p.m. with more business news update, but the sports news is next with Gary L. Smith.
I hope you've enjoyed your holiday. Thank you very much for staying with us on Joy News Prime. I'm Gary L. Smith, and this is the sport. In our first story, the CEO of Inter-Allies Football Club, Delali Senaye, wants football clubs in Ghana to benefit from government's COVID-19 stimulus package.
Perry Okujetu, speaking on Beyond the Lockdown on Joy News, indicated sports is not a part of the 1 billion Ghana cedi stimulus package for small and medium-scale enterprises. According to him, though conversations are ongoing with federations that have tabled proposals for support, they are not part of the plan currently.
The stimulus package we know is for small-scale SMEs, football or sports is not included in the package that is being rolled out as we speak.
This revelation is surprising to the sports community, especially football, who have been courting government to extend the financial support to members of the GFA. Delali Senaye, Chief Executive Officer of Inter-Allies, says Ghana and South Africa are the only members of CAF where football clubs are owned privately.
It's interesting for you to know that in other jurisdictions, compared to countries under CAF in Africa, it will interest you to know that it's only South Africa and Ghana that all the clubs in the top professional league are owned privately by individuals. Unlike other countries like Nigeria, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Niger, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and so on and so forth. Most, if not all, the clubs are owned by the various state or a state-owned agency, meaning they draw budget from the state. So in situations like this, they are not affected.
Mr. Senaye admonished government to be a partner in every sector, including football.
Muftau Nabila with that report. Still at the Sports Ministry, and we're still finding out what is the status of Kwesi Appiah's arrears are. He's been owed $185,000, and Perry Okujetu, speaking on Beyond the Lockdown, says things are being sorted out.
There's a sponsorship package that goes to the FA. However, the sponsorship package is channeled through the ministry. And therefore, as part of that, coaches are paid from that. Money suspended on national teams are paid from these sponsorship monies. In certain cases, when the sponsorship money is not enough to pay for national teams and all of that, government actually pays for these things. The case, it's been the case that before the termination of the contract of Mr. Kwesi Appiah, there have been some arrears, and those arrears have arisen due to certain issues that have come up in the last couple of months. I know that the ministry is in talks with Kwesi Appiah, end at the appropriate time. Once the issues are ironed out, he'll be paid.
And that's it for the sport for now. I'll be back on the other side of 8. I'm Gary L. Smith.
Time now for showbiz, and Becky's here as always with the very latest from the showbiz, and you just want to see how she's looking.
It's actually Salamat.
Of course.
Salamatu. Thank you very much.
Hajia Mariam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hajia Aisha. But Aisha, today is Africa Day. We're celebrating Africa today. Yes. And Idris Elba, together with a couple of people, put something together in celebration of Africa Day. Viacom, CBS Network Africa, and YouTube, in partnership with Idris Elba, hosted an Africa Day benefit concert at home. The special programming will raise funds to support food and health needs for children and families in Africa affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, with the World Food Programme and UNICEF who are supporting COVID-affected communities across Africa. And Aisha, our very own Manifest, performed. So let's take that performance.
But what about the VGMAs? That was a very bad thing that happened, but yes. I hear him speaking about it.
Of course, on Hit FM, he says that what happened a year ago has been lessons all through, but he has no regrets.
2001. It's on record. Really, because my intention, especially on that night, was not to achieve what happened. It wasn't it was not premeditated, and premeditation is then the vibe. You know, it was not premeditated to chaos anybody else, because if it was, right when we step into the auditorium, then there must be chaos.
Yes, but you didn't go with that intention.
And we still stay.
Either of you did not go. I can clearly tell you that none of you went with that intention.
Else, if probably he also did, then he would have immediately started chaos when he got there. So that was not the intention.
It was an act of God.
Jano.
See? Yeah. So what? Do you miss Black City?
I beg you, I don't miss anybody.
All right.
I beg you.
All right. It's just
today is freestyle. I don't be freestyle. Yeah. I miss my wife, Mo.
Oh, wow. Stoneboy is talking about love. He misses his wife. All right.
Stoneboy right there. He's learned his lessons, and of course we all do.
We hope it doesn't recur.
No, of course it won't happen again. But Aisha, let's end on a gospel note. Rapper Eno was in church.
Eno, you just touched a heart, and you've won a soul for good.
Yes, praise the Lord. I
think you should be singing in church. She's got such a beautiful voice.
Of course, yeah,
and
I agree.
She's got to be praising God all the time.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you so much for bringing us showbiz. Thank you so much, Baraka Kadei, Ajia Mariam. And that'll be it for those of you watching on Joy Prime. The news returns on Joy News.
Leadership of the Zongo community in the Ashanti region says it is unimpressed with the work of the Inner City and Zongo Development Ministry. The community heads observe that little has been achieved in the communities in terms of development and improvement in the lives of the people since the ministry was established. They believe the ministry can do better to transform the Zongos if education is prioritized and the locals are involved in the planning process. Prince Apia has more in this report.
The Zongo communities in Ghana are one of the largest but underdeveloped areas in the country. President Akufo-Addo, on assumption of power, instituted the Inner City and Zongo Development Ministry in fulfillment of an election promise to address the situation. 3.5 years down, the target communities in Ashanti region say there's little to write home about development spearheaded by the ministry. Chief Osman bin Ahmed speaks for the Sarkin Zongo of Kumasi.
Yeah, that I am not impressed with what the Zongo minister is doing, because I can see that the Zongo ministry is only in Accra. I said it and I'm saying it right away. They need to also come to us to know the requirement. What do we need? What does our community need? You cannot sit down in Accra dictating for us what have they ever said, because in the whole of the country there's no community like the Zongo community of Ashanti region. When and where have they even sat down to know what we want? We are not politicians. I'm not, but I say things the way it is. Everybody knows me to say things as it is. We need him to also come. The president has set up the Zongo ministry to tackle the problem of the Zongo community. Ask him, has he ever come, or the ministry, or in the... Sarkin Zongo said it to his delegation when they came and visited him. I am also standing here today to tell you that we are not happy with the Zongo ministry, because it's high time they come to us to know the requirement of our people. We also need to see our people being taken to go and read medicine, and when and where have they come to sit down with us to access what we do. You cannot decide something from the top and then impose it on us. It doesn't work. You need, if you want to settle our problem, come and sit down with us. What is that? What do you want? The situation is different. What pertains is area A possibly is not what area B wants. So I'm using this opportunity to tell the ministry that yes, the president is good, he is thinking for us, but I can tell you the Zongo ministry is always operating in Accra.
Chief Osman made a comment when ex-president John Mahama donated a minibus and 50 bags of rice to the Zongo youth.
Responding to the concerns of the Zongo leaders, Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, said government will by end 2020 deliver close to 100 million Ghana cedis in development projects in Zongo communities across the country. However, added the transformation will not happen overnight and that it will take time to improve slum communities. He spoke with Daniel Dadze on Prime Morning.
By the formation or establishment of the Ministry of Inner City and Zongo Development, it is not at all a supposition or an assumption that in an election cycle all the problems of inner cities and Zongo communities are going to be resolved. First of all, we are talking about over 3,000 communities scattered across the country. Government doesn't have, or Ghana doesn't have a bottomless pit of money that is going to just in one go intervene in the lives of these 3,000 communities and resolve all their challenges. No, it won't happen. As we go on, and as governments come and go, and as this ministry stays, and then we as they say, chew a bit at the problems, I'm hoping that within a generation, we can wipe out the inequalities. Because if we had started this 63 years ago, okay, and people were even doing the kinds of things that we have managed to do in just 2 years, and people were doing them incrementally for 63 years, I'm sure by now, much of the inequality would either have been drastically reduced or wiped out. So yes, the inequalities will exist. They will exist for another 10 years. They will exist for another 15 years. They may exist even after another 20 years. Nonetheless, a journey of 1,000 miles begin with a step, and we are happy we began.
Also in this bulletin, field assemblyman aspirant for Edukrom Nima Ibrahim Adabo, also known as Honorable Aponchi, has taken on budding comedian and musician A.Y. Poyo over the use of the name goat. He insists the comedian cannot claim to be a goat as he took on the name years ago. A.Y. Poyo has a song out in which he says he is a goat, but the field assemblyman aspirant says he can only aspire to be the second goat as Aponchi, or goat is his birthright. He has been speaking with Joy News Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
There is somebody called Poyo or Koro or Polo. I don't know him. And he mentioned my name to make trending. He said he called real goats. Hey, you call real goats? Do you know how much I'll spend? How can register my name that Honorable Aponchi or goat? I want you to hear that name I have registered before. If you want trending, you can choose Koro. Meanwhile, they call you Poyo. You can choose Koro. Yeah, and trend. But you mention goats. Hey, do you know the kind of goats? When I say mention the skills of goats or mention how they describe goats, you can mention it. You know how to mention how they describe goats. Goat is my real name. It's my property. Since long, back on the days, not today.
How many years now have you been calling yourself goat?
Since 2004. Since 2004, it's my old man, it's my old man, and I don't know his name. It's my grandma, it's my grandfather.
Grandmother, your grandfather, you don't know his name?
It's my grandfather. He come from our village, and come by. We call him Grandpa. He mentioned the name for me. Yeah.
How? I don't get you. I don't understand you.
He said the way I'll go and come, the way I pass and enter the place, if I do compare, I can go here and appear another place, and then if they say I should have sit here, oh, they have come. If he come, he didn't see me there, I'll go to compare. He said, no, you pray like a ponche.
All right, so Aisha, who's the real
have you paid property rates? Have you paid property rates to Honorable Ponche before even using that name? Oh my goodness.
I'm asking you, who would you say is a real goat?
I don't know how long Poyo has been using goat, but Honorable Ponche says he has been using this since 2004. And that's a long time ago. But I think I need to check who has actually who has patented the name goat. But I just want to find out, how about the real goat? Do you have a goat in your house? Goats. I mean,
I don't.
You don't. So if I go to Fadama and I find people who rear goats, I mean, I think both of them should pay royalty to the goat himself. Owner.
We're taking a break from all business to stay tuned in.
Welcome back, and from the real goat, let's do the real business news. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says government has been able to prudently stabilize the Ghana cedi, notwithstanding shocks from the coronavirus. The pandemic recently resulted in some offshore investors getting out of the bond market, while demand for traditional exports have seen some decline. But despite these, Dr. Bawumia said on the Joy Super Morning Show that the cedi has been fairly stabilized.
I mean, fundamentally, we have managed the cedi much better. I mean, by all accounts, I mean, we did arrest the runaway depreciation in the cedi, and therefore, if you look at the record in terms of the depreciation of the cedi in the last 4 or 5 years or 8 years, you'll see, I mean, that since the MPP came into power, the rate of the cedi depreciation is 50% less than what it was before. That is what the data shows. So it's 50% less. So yes, we have arrested the depreciation of the cedi. We have brought down inflation. We have brought down interest rates. We have brought down the deficit. We have increased growth. We have reduced unemployment. We have reduced the suffering of the people in the context of, paying for electricity. We have reduced the price of electricity.
And responding to Dr. Bawumia's comments, economist and professor of finance, Professor Godfred Baldwin, described the cedi's performance as good news.
If you look at, even from the beginning of the year, before COVID-19 really showed its ugly head in our part of the world, you could see the performance of the cedi, and you can trace it to some underlying strategies. One is the fact that Bank of Ghana has been intentional building its international reserves in anticipation of 2020 election. Because usually during an election year, the cedi comes under some cumulative pressure, and that becomes an election campaign issue. So that is clear. But of course, when you also look at the slowdown or generally the disruption in the global supply chain, which is also affecting import, but also affecting export. But then you have to look at the balance of where the impact is, and that may also be showing up in the performance of the cedi. But more importantly, if you look at the drop in global interest rates because of some quantitative easing, and then particularly the effect, the containment measures to COVID-19, interest rates are particularly low. And for that reason, those investors who normally would seek early redemption of their investment from Ghana, for which reason could cause the cedi to depreciate.
Meanwhile, the total amount of Ghana cedis in circulation has increased significantly since March last year. Latest data from the Bank of Ghana shows that it went up to hit 15.5 billion cedis. George Afe has more on this and its implications for economic activities in the country.
Ghana data showed that it went up by a little over 3 billion Ghana cedis. That is from March last year to March 2020. There isn't any official reason for this significant jump for now, but I would say it can be attributed to some much improvement with economic activities in the country. This is because the Bank of Ghana has a policy of trying to match the amount of money in circulation with economic activities. This is expected to influence the amount that the Bank of Ghana allows to be in circulation in the country. The data have showed that from January this year to March 2020, the amount of money in circulation has been around 15 billion Ghana cedis. It declined in February and went up marginally in March this year. The same Bank of Ghana data also showed that monies outside the banking system has also increased significantly this year, up from 11.2 billion Ghana cedis to 13.5 billion Ghana cedis. It is however not clear for now how this could impact an inflation rate, despite the fact that the rate in recent times have been fairly low, and whether the Bank of Ghana will be instituting some measures to mop up this amount of money outside the banking system. In terms of advances, or let's say credit by commercial banks in the country, the services sector attracted the highest of 14 billion Ghana cedis, and in the first quarter of this year, commerce and finance took the next chunk of 8 billion Ghana cedis. In all, as at the end of March this year, commercial banks in the country have advanced almost 60 billion Ghana cedis to private businesses and government.
All right, coming up next, we go to the commodity market. And that's how we wrap up tonight on Business. You can log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more business news updates. My name is Sandra Esinam. And today you can call me Hajia.
Second hour of sports, I'm Gary Al Smith. Stephen Appiah has extolled the leadership qualities of Black Stars captain Andre Ayew in his interview with us on Saturday.
Andre, when it comes to Andre, I think he's a leader. The way he talks, the way he acts, the way he do his things. Okay. You can see that he's a leader. Doesn't mean that you have to do magic on the pitch. Everybody has his own moments. Some people think that okay, because somebody is Maradona is wearing the number 10, he's the best player, he should be the leader. You can give the band to Maradona, but maybe leadership skills he doesn't have. And we have some players like Andre. Asamoah did his best. Asamoah did so well. But we are talking about Dede. Like Andre, I think I see is somebody who always wanted to win, and I always refer to Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard was doing so well. You see the Liverpool players, they were running and doing they want to die. They don't want to die for anybody. They see the captain giving everything on the pitch. So the players will be like, okay, our leader is doing this. We too, we have to try and support.
And beyond the lockdown yesterday, there was a conversation about what rights players have if their clubs want them to start playing football. Dr. Prince Pambo of CAF has urged them to have comprehensive medicals before playing active football again.
They are home and they are home. The players are not able to train well. They are not able to do anything. And research, scientific research has come out to prove and confirm that when players, any player who has contracted COVID-19 and gotten treated, that player stands a higher risk of suffering a cardiac arrest during play. So we, the medics in football or in sports, have now turned our light on the pre-competition medical assessment you have to do before allowing these players to play. And I believe every player, every sports person listening to me now, it is your right to demand that comprehensive medicals be done for you before putting you on that pitch to go and play. And so this will be cardiovascular assessment, blood works, and all that. If you want me to just add the financial bit, it will cost a minimum of $150 to do this for one player. If each club is supposed to even register 30 players, you are looking at $4,500, so $4,500 for each club to be able to do just medicals. And even that, we the medical people, for a love of the game, we normally waive off our professional fees so clubs can be able to pay.
And that will be it for sport. Thank you very much for your time. And that's it for the news as well.
All right, and that'll be it for the bulletin. But up next, right after this bulletin, we're bringing you that interview with Kennedy Ejapong. Aisha, is one that's not to be missed.
You never want to miss that one, the controversial Kennedy Ejapong. I'll be standing by to watch that interview. And many thanks for watching. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. To all my fellow Muslims, Barakah da Sallah.